last time on Button Smash, I reviewed Castlevania Bloodlines, explaining to you guys the pure torture and rage I had to go through to get through that game. Since I was a kid, I've had this disgusting fascination with playing insanely hard games. Contra Hardcore, Battletoads, Final Fight the Arcade, with limited quarters obtained from my parents, Ninja Gaiden 2, The Dark Sword of Chaos. The list can go on forever. But I also suffer from a lesser-known, time-consuming condition I like to call gamer OCD, where everything has to be perfect. You see those treasure maps scattered around the world? Well, I gotta grab them all. Insane is the hardest difficulty? I gotta beat it all. There's multiple endings? I gotta earn them all. Kill 53,595 infected? Gotta kill them all. Character customization? It has to be perfect. Ugh, they're just not right. And the most notorious gamer OCD symptom of all, I cannot accept a game over screen. If I get that game over screen, I have to try again and again. And that screen is a regular sight in Super Ghouls and Ghosts. The game stars Sir Arthur, who you may recognize from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where he's a fully playable fighter. But he got his start in 1985 in Ghosts 'n Goblins, the arcade game, which was ported over to several home consoles and home computers at the time. The sequel, Ghouls and Ghosts, came out in arcades 3 years later in 1988, and the next sequel, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, landed on the Super Nintendo in 1991. This adventure sends Sir Arthur on a quest to rescue Princess Prin from the clutches of evil after being taken away by demons under the command of Emperor Sardius. The gameplay's pretty basic. You run, you jump, you double jump, and throw unlimited lances. There's also chests that give you different weapons too, and whatever you do, stay away from this torch weapon. It's completely useless in later stages, and it's only going to get you killed. It's just as bad as accidentally picking up the laser in Contra. My favorite weapon was the crossbow because it can shoot in multiple directions, and the chest can also contain the magic armor, which enhances your weapons and gives you some extra attacks. And if you have that armor on, you can find the super magic armor, which gives you additional super moves that are based on whatever weapon you're carrying. But beware, the chests aren't always a good thing. This asshole can pop out and turn you into a woman, a seal, a bee, or a baby. The feeling of terror when he comes out while you're surrounded by enemies is indescribable. But he's not the reason you're gonna fail over and over again trying to get through this game. You notice how there's no health bar? Whenever you get hit, you lose your armor and end up in your boxers. But if you get hit again while you're in this state, you instantly die and turn into a skeleton. Super Ghouls and Ghosts is an awesome classic game, but also an unforgiving, cold-hearted test of willpower. Before every stage, you get a look at where you are on the world map. The goal is to reach the castle all the way to the right and save the princess. And this is one of those the first stage isn't so bad games. But just like Castlevania Bloodlines, it's a trick. A trick that's programmed to give you a false sense of safety. You go through this graveyard fighting zombies, wild dogs, ghost rider snake things, and falling skulls. Eventually, you get to a point where new players may get a big surprise. Getting through this successfully is all about timing your jumps. And Super Ghouls and Ghosts is one of the better looking games on the Super Nintendo. The vibrant colors, enemy design, even the music, everything screams quality. The first boss is a giant bird chicken monster, and like many first boss battles, it's pretty easy. It spits eggs at you that hatch in babies, and it extends its neck to hit you. As long as you stay away from it, it's easily survivable. I remember the second stage being one of my favorite ones when I was a kid. And that's another thing that's so cool about this game. Every level looks very different from the one before. That's not something you regularly see in today's games, and it really makes me appreciate the level design. Stage 2 is a ship graveyard with swinging axes all over the place and ghosts flying around everywhere. And soon enough, you end up on a raft floating in the ocean. Thankfully, you can't really fall off since it follows your jumps. Otherwise, I would have died way more in the stage than I actually did. And I used to think that merman in the background was creepy as hell, too. Look at him, you see him? There he is. Boom. Dead. And in this level, you face flying fish, spiky coral obstacles, and sea plants that spit stuff at you. Boss number 2, some kind of starfish sponge monster. I always thought he looked disgusting, and this thing just kind of floats around and shoots spikes at you. Once again, nothing too hard just yet. Just follow the rule of staying away. Stage 3 has you going to what looks like some kind of hellish realm. There's lava everywhere, spiky platforms with blood dripping, fire-breathing cat monsters, all kinds of demons. This is the shit. This may be kind of a hard game stage. These little demons that fly around annoy the hell out of me. They don't have any rhythm to their pattern. They fly around and dive at you whenever they want, and they're so small that if you have the wrong weapon equipped, you're screwed. Just try to get away from them as quickly as possible. Being careful with your jumps is more important than ever here. And say hello to Firebrand, the most dastardly of enemies in the series. Also seen in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And he even stars in his own game too, Demon's Crest. Check that one out, that's also a really good game. They always come up at the worst possible times, when you have no armor, when you're trying to jump over an obstacle, and even worse is that they have no flight pattern either. They behave completely random, and most weapons you chuck at them are gonna miss. They somehow know what you're gonna do before you do it. I hate these enemies beyond belief, and I dare say they're worse than the Medusa heads in Castlevania, and anyone that's played Castlevania knows how annoying those are. You see plenty of these dicks throughout the entire game, so run away when you can. I died so many times trying to go through these giant pillars too. These little troll monsters randomly kept popping up above me, so I had to keep taking baby steps to make sure they would spawn in front of me instead of above me. I was getting pissed. Boss number 3, a giant blue caterpillar with tusks. And you definitely want to get inside of it as soon as you can because it can only take damage on the bottom part of its body. So if you're inside of it, attack away and you're good. If you end up outside of it, you're screwed because it shoots things at you and you're gonna have a hard time hurting it. Stage 4 is another weird looking demon realm. This one's kind of cool though. You go in these pods that turn the level around, so you're going all kinds of different directions. You didn't really see things like this too often on the Super Nintendo. And this level's full of spikes, green ghost riders, blue Aladdin genies with golden axes, and the imagery here is just, it's bizarre. At one point you get on this floating platform and you have to avoid these exploding spike sack things. And there's a bunch of connected hearts down below with blueberries on the ceiling. It's weird. And Boss 4 is surprisingly easy if you have the crossbow. It's a 3-headed dragon and it's really slow to react. And you know what's funny? Castlevania Bloodlines has a boss that reminds me of a Godzilla monster, Mothra. Well, this game does too. Look at that. It's King Ghidorah. Godzilla monsters always look cool, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these games back in the day drew some influence from them. But yeah, as soon as you take out each head, it's done. Stage 5 is the mandatory ice level. I am so thankful that this isn't the typical ice level that video games of old had so many of. If you grew up in the early 90s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The ice levels that had slippery floors. I could never stand those. This ice level doesn't have any slippery floors. Beautiful. However, it does have ice cats, monster flowers, ice dogs, ice vines, and Firebrand. I hate him so much. Look at that! He came completely from off screen like a missile. There was no way to prepare for it. Oh my god. You also run into avalanches that you can only avoid by hiding on the ladders. Boss 5 is a floating samurai ice skeleton torso that shoots little wind funnels at you and exploding ice balls. As long as you keep your distance and you have a decent weapon, it's fairly easy to kill. In Stage 6. This is where the game really begins defeating you mentally and killing your willpower slowly. What's the first thing you see when you walk just a short distance? Firebrand, you son of a bitch. As usual, he flies around randomly and utterly destroys you. My recommendation is try and escape as fast as possible. Don't try to be a hero, because you will regret it. You make your way through the castle and fight some more basic enemies while running into several Firebrands. Look at that. There's two at once. It's ridiculous. And then you run to Astaroth, Emperor Sardius' lieutenant. You'll likely be in your underwear by this point. And the axe is a really good weapon to have here because it shoots forward. And he blows out fire out of his stomach and shoots lasers at you. I just kind of kept my distance until he exploded. Almost to the end, the home stretch, if you will. You're going deeper and deeper into the castle, and you fight plenty of these bird neck stretching things placed in inconvenient locations. You know what? It kind of reminds me of those things from Castlevania, but nowhere near as annoying. And guess who's waiting for you? You know, I'm just about done talking about this bastard. When Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out, I actually refused to play as him, because when I saw him, I was immediately filled with rage. Here, I'm trying to take out these two monsters, and I have to worry about Firebrand peeking around the bottom, because I know that at any moment, he's gonna fly up at me, while I'm worrying about dodging fireballs. It's complete chaos. But then you fight Astaroth again. He's got a little bit of an upgrade though. As soon as you beat him, he transforms into a more powerful form that shoots thicker lasers at you from his stomach. And the princess is finally rescued. I have beaten one of the hardest games on the Super Nintendo, and it feels amazing. Wait a minute. What? But not even you can defeat that fiend Sardius without the goddess bracelet? Come back here with the bracelet and release me? The game sends you back to the first level for a second playthrough with an even harder difficulty. Not only that, but you have to wear the golden armor, find a chest, and collect the goddess bracelet, which is the only weapon powerful enough to destroy the real final boss. Now this is the moment that you have to just pause the game and ask yourself, is this shit worth it? I can easily turn off the console, no one will ever know. I've got nothing to prove. No, my generation of early 90s kids had some serious skills and determination. The key to beating this game is reversing time in your mind and get back into that early 90s kid mentality when you had no responsibilities and could play video games all day while shitting your Super Mario Bros. 3 whitey tighties. A princess still needs saving, and it's part of the first real video game generation. I have a reputation to uphold. Emperor Sardius. So we meet the real final boss, and he's got the power to back it up. The goal is to hit him in the head with fireballs from the goddess bracelet until he dies. This guy shoots lasers everywhere, and you have to jump on these platforms to get to his head. Literally one of the hardest final bosses I've ever faced in any video game. I almost quit several times. I thought it was satisfying killing Dracula in Castlevania Bloodlines. That was nothing compared to the joy and happiness I felt destroying Sardius. Arthur gets his woman, rides back with her to the kingdom during a beautiful sunrise. The end. This bitch ever gets kidnapped again, she is staying right where she is. And don't forget to tune in to GamerThumbTV next Thursday for another episode of Midnight Movies when I review The Thing, the prequel to the 1982 classic The Thing. And I'm also bringing you an extra video this week on Saturday, September 17th, with another episode of Unlimited Replay, where we're going to check out the newly released Recore, made by the same creators behind Mighty No. 9. This is Fabian and I'm out of here. I love you guys and I'll see you next time. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and check out my other videos. I've got plenty of content on the channel for you to enjoy. Till next time.